A very pleasant evening to one and all. I am Sashwat Nanda,
And I am Vanshika Sharma.
and we are delighted to conduct the proceedings of the Foundation Day lecture today. Respected Chief Guest, Ms. Sunita Reddy, Managing Director, Apollo Hospitals Enterprise Limited, Father Jerome Coutinho, SJ, Chairman, Board of Governors, XIM University, Shri Rajiv Kaul, Chairman Emeritus, Board of Governors, XIM University, Father Anthony R. Uveri, SJ, Vice Chancellor, XIM University, members of the Board of Governors of XIM University, guests, delegates from the media, faculty, staff, and students.
The occasion is indeed a day of tribute, a day of honoring, a day of celebrating the glorious existence and achievements of this institution. I am indeed privileged to heartily welcome each one of you for our Foundation Day celebration. We appreciate you taking time off your busy schedules to join us today. To begin with, may I request everyone to rise for the opening prayer, song sung by our student choir group.
हम तो सदा महफूज हुए हैं दाता तेरी याद में, बिन मांगे सब कुछ है पाया, क्या मांगू फरियाद में। हम तो सदा महफूज हुए हैं दाता तेरी याद में, बिन मांगे सब कुछ है पाया, क्या मांगू फरियाद में। पनिसा निसा रे मा पा मा रे नि पा मा रे मा सा रे नि सा, तू ही समझता दिल को हमारे, करता मेरी हिफाजत है, तुझ पर ही तो हक है सारे, तू ही मेरी ताकत है, तू ही समझता दिल को हमारे, करता मेरी हिफाजत है, तुझ पर ही तो हक है सारे, तू ही मेरी ताकत है। सानी सरे मरे सनी सपनी मपनी मपा मरे मसारे निसा, तुमने दी है हर एक खूबी मुझको आशीर्वाद में। हम तो सदा महफूज हुए हैं साहिब तेरी याद में, तुमने दी है हर एक खूबी मुझको आशीर्वाद में। हम तो सदा महफूज हुए हैं साहिब तेरी याद में, हम तो सदा महफूज हुए हैं साहिब तेरी याद में, भगवन तेरी याद में, दाता तेरी याद में।
be seated now. Thank you very much for the beautiful incantation.
This year, we are indeed pleased to have amongst us Ms. Sunita Reddy, Managing Director, Apollo Hospitals Enterprises, one of Asia's most trusted healthcare providers. A member of the founding family, her association with Apollo Hospitals dates to the year 1989. Under her able leadership, Apollo Hospitals has emerged as a forerunner of integrated healthcare. The group has touched the lives of more than 200 million individuals from over 140 countries. Leading the finance and strategy functions, Ms. Reddy has been instrumental in bringing the first FDI into healthcare in India and subsequently in taking the organization to international equity markets. We at XIM University are undoubtedly pleased to have her with us this evening.
We very warmly welcome Father Jerome Kutina, Chairman, Board of Governors, XIM University.
We happily welcome Sri Rajiv Kaul, the longest served chairman of Xavier Institute of Management and the first chairman of our university. It has always been a delight to have you with us, sir.
We sincerely welcome our Vice Chancellor, Father Anthony R. Uveri. Welcome, Father.
Now, I invite our very supportive and industrious Chairman Emeritus, Sri Rajiv Kaul, for the welcome remarks. Sir, please.
Respected Chief Guest and my very dear friend Sunita Reddy, Managing Director of Apollo Hospitals, Father Jerome Kutina, our very distinguished, young and dynamic Chairman of our board, Father Tony Uveri, our Vice Chancellor, a person who is growing our university very aggressively. Big hand to him as well. Our bright young students, our Board of Governors, bright young students, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's with the greatest of pleasure that I extend a warm welcome to all of you, and in particular, a very warm welcome goes out to our chief guest, Sunita Reddy, who I have been fortunate to have as a friend for the past few decades. She is an exceptional individual who I've had the good fortune to work with and to admire, be it at CII, be it at the All India Management Association, IMA, or at meetings of the Harvard Business School. I recall that perhaps 25 or 30 years ago, and in her introduction, my young colleague student had mentioned that she was the first person as a young director of finance who had arranged the very first international GDR offering in the healthcare sector. And I'm mentioning this for a particular reason, because she did this through a blue-blooded British bank, if I remember correctly, called the Schroders Bank. And those days, I had a friend whose name was Bruno Schroeder. And Bruno, I don't know if you recall, talked very highly of you a few times that I met him in Davos at the World Economic Forum. So, Sunita, for many years, I had a high regard for you, and Bruno also, who I don't know if you remember or not, tall, quite a handsome young guy, he spoke very highly of you. Sunita, you're a soft-spoken leader, yet you are a strong leader. You are a leader who has been building confidence, consensus, and inspiring your colleagues below you, and indeed your family, your father, your 3 sisters. And you are a person who is maintaining the family trait as a leader with the highest level of integrity. And these are some things that we try and imbibe in our young students who go through us at Xavier's. And therefore, it's lovely to have you. We also teach our students here that they need to give back to society in a way that you and your family has been giving back to society over the last 40, 50 years. But above all, you're a person of humility. And that's something which is very difficult to try and let our MBA, young dynamic MBAs know. But it's something which is a Xavier trait, and as a Xavierian, we all try to inculcate that what should I say, trait which you so distinguishedly sort of have. Therefore, without any further ado, friends, may I request you to give her, our chief guest, Sunita Reddy, a warm applause and welcome. I think we can.
Thank you so much, sir, for always inspiring us.
With great pride and enthusiasm, XIM University is pleased to confer honoris causa in business management on Miss Sunita Reddy. May I invite the Dean Academics, Professor of Economics, Xavier Institute of Management, XIM University, Professor Biswasarup Misra, to read out the citation. Sir, please.
Good evening to all present in this auditorium. It is my pleasure to share with you the citation leading to the conferment of honorary doctorate in business management on Miss Sunita Reddy. This degree is awarded to Miss Sunita Reddy, Managing Director of Apollo Hospitals, Director of Apollo Munich Re-Health Insurance Company Limited, and board member of several Apollo Hospitals group companies. She holds a Bachelor of Arts degree from Stella Maris College in Chennai, a Diploma in Financial Management from Institute of Financial Management and Research, Chennai, and has completed the President Management Program at Harvard Business School, Boston, USA. Established in 1983, Apollo Hospitals have made a mark as one of the leading hospitals chains in India. The group has touched the lives of over 150 million individuals from 140 countries. Under her stewardship, Apollo Hospitals has emerged as a forerunner of integrated healthcare and has a robust presence across the healthcare spectrum. Ms. Sunita Reddy joined Apollo Hospitals in 1989. Under her leadership as the finance director, she spearheaded several fundraising and investment decisions, which have played a key role in the Apollo Group's sustained growth and profitability. She steers corporate strategy, acquisitions and operations, while continuing to oversee finance as the managing director. Ms. Sunita Reddy was instrumental in bringing the first FDI in healthcare to India and subsequently in taking the organization to international equity markets through a successful GDR. It has been her deep domain knowledge and foresight that has guided Apollo's emergence as a formidable, financially sound hospital enterprise. In her extensive career, she has been instrumental in implementing several greenfield and brownfield projects. With a clear focus on making the company future ready, she is leading efforts to transform Apollo Hospitals into a digitally enabled organization. Ms. Sunita Reddy is deeply committed to ensuring that Apollo Hospitals delivers world-class clinical outcomes. Known for her dedicated efforts and meticulous planning, Ms. Sunita Reddy guides the implementation of contemporary protocols to continuously enhance clinical outcomes. She leads the organization's initiative in introducing clinical innovation and mentors the Apollo Clinical Innovation Group, which identifies, incubates, and implements clinical innovations. She is a member of CNBC International's Global Sustainability Forum, one of only 2 members from India. She represents Apollo Hospitals as a founding member of the Global Parity Alliance of the World Economic Forum in India, and which is committed to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion. She is the Vice President of IMA and member of several illustrious academic bodies such as the Harvard India Advisory Board, South Asia Advisory Board, Harvard Business School, and the Harvard Business School Medical Advisory Board. She is also serving as a member of the National Committee on Healthcare. Ms. Sunita Reddy has contributed significantly to the development of Indian industry by serving as a patron member of India International Chamber of Commerce and serving as the president of ICC for the year 2022-23. She has contributed as the co-chairperson of Healthcare Subcommittee of Confederation of Indian Industry, a member of CII National Council, the CII Healthcare Council, the CII Family Business Council. She has also been the chairperson of CII Asia Health Summit 2020 and a member of the India-UK CEO Forum. In recognition of her distinct achievements, she has been awarded the Business Today's Most Powerful Women in India Business Awards 2019 and 2022, Economic Times Awards for Corporate Excellence, Businesswoman of the Year Award 2020, Best CEO Award from the Business Today in 2023. For 5 years, during 2018 to 2022, Ms. Sunita Reddy featured amongst the top 10 in Fortune India's list of most powerful women, which recognizes women in business who are making an impact by virtue of their business acumen and social and cultural influence. XIM University recognizes the diverse achievements of Ms. Sunita Reddy across industries, society, and the government, and is pleased to confer on Ms. Sunita Reddy the Doctor of Business Management honoris causa on December 8, 2023 at Bhubaneswar, signed by Father S. Antony Raj, SJ Registrar, Father Anthony R. Uvari, SJ Vice Chancellor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I request our Chairman, Father Jerome Kutina, Chairman Emeritus, Sri Rajiv Kaul, and our Vice Chancellor, Father Anthony R. Uvari, to confer the honorary doctorate on Ms. Sunita Reddy and felicitate her, as well as express our gratitude for her time and presence. Thank you very much.
Now, I would like to take the privilege of inviting Miss Sunita Reddy, the chief guest and speaker for the evening, to deliver the Foundation Day speech. Ma'am, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My deepest gratitude to Father Jerome, Rajiv Kaul, my friend, and the Vice Chancellor. Thank you so much for this wonderful award, this honor. I am deeply grateful. It is, they say that don't think things are impossible, because you can always make it possible. And today you've made this possible for me. When I was young, when I was 25 years old, I said maybe one day I should become a doctor. And I was so busy with work because my father said, India needs, you girls have to manage the business. You don't have the time to give 20 hours a day to be a doctor. So we never thought of really becoming doctors. But thank you for this honor. I am deeply grateful to three of you for it. And of course, for the generous citation. Rajiv, you've been very generous in your compliments. I hope that we continue to maintain the friendship, because it is indeed very special. Rajiv has known me for a long time. It's been said that companies. So today I'm going to talk about learning and living. How important purpose is in this process, especially in institution building. A company, they say, needs both poets and farmers. And clearly, my father was one of those who combined both. He was a man with a vision. A poet is someone who brings magic to what you do, and a farmer brings logic. So while he had that vision, I must say that combined with the management team that always supported him, he did have that logic. And it is essential for a company's success to recognize that people of different strengths coming together really make a purposeful organization. When he came back to India in 1969, his father had written him a letter saying that, you've worked in the US, you're a successful cardiologist. Don't you think it's time to come back to India and do something for your country? Shortly afterwards, he lost a patient who was only 32 years old because he couldn't make it to the US for treatment. And at that time, he said, we need to build India's corporate healthcare. It seemed like an impossible dream. If you think of it, at that time, in the 1970s, 80% of Indians used to go abroad for treatment. 80% of our doctors used to go abroad to become doctors in the US, UK, and all over the world. So what seemed like an almost impossible thing was the vision that he had. And coincidentally, it was the same year, in 1969, that Apollo 11 landed on the moon. And all of you might remember that Neil Armstrong at that time said, this is one small step for man, but a huge leap for mankind. And I believe that while Apollo was really, in a way, a single hospital, we called it Apollo Hospitals, a single hospital, it really started the trend of corporate hospitals in India and hopefully lifted the level of care, because now 80% of those patients don't go abroad for treatment. More importantly, we deliver treatment at 1/10 of international cost with international outcomes which you could compare to the best in the world. Today, patients from 147 countries come to India for healthcare. And that's what leadership was about. You know, it's good to be managers, and all of you will have that. You will be trained to be good managers. All of you will be trained to be good leaders. But to be a transformational leader, you need to have that vision and you need to have that leap of faith. My learnings from my father is really something that has impacted my own leadership style. When we thought that things were impossible, you know, he had to get 72 licenses. At that time, healthcare was not even recognized as an industry. Our chairman used to get up at 4:30 every morning and he used to read the Sundarakandam. And Sundarakandam, for those who don't know it, is part of the Ramayanam where Hanuman leaves to Lanka from India. That leap of faith it's not just the physical leap of faith. It's about what the mind can do and what the mind can achieve. And truly, all of us have it. It might not, it's not in your religious text, but believe me, all of us have the ability to do something special, to achieve the impossible in everything that we do. As we look at how Apollo progressed, it was more than just a hospital. And while belief for us was power, we believed that there was nothing we could not do. So when COVID hit us in 2020, you think of all the things that they say about companies. Companies need to, read the management books. Companies need to be agile. Companies need to innovate. Companies need to have teams. Companies need to have, they need to have courage. And most importantly, they need to have people who are there working together, believing that they do their best for the customer. And that is the spirit that worked within us, which is at the core of our DNA. And we believe that what ignites us is really far more compelling than what divides us. So it's not about Apollo versus the rest of the healthcare industry. It's really what brings us together to do something good for healthcare. And during the COVID pandemic, I think we demonstrated each of these capabilities. Leaders leading by example. My father used to come to work every day, and so did we. We were agile. We realized that patients couldn't come to the hospital, so we rolled out our digital format, which we thought about 2 years ago, and we had a COVID risk score. It was downloaded by about 12 million people. Currently we have about 20 million people using our app. We also started innovation in a big way, not only with the launch of 24/7, which is our digital app, which was launched by my sister Shobana, but also creating rooms overnight, converting hotels to hospital rooms, managing 22,000 incidences of COVID at home, using telemedicine. But most important of all, we learned that collaboration, learning, having an open mind and learning were key to really solving that problem of COVID. So we created GAPIO, which is an association of Indian physicians from across the world. And using them, we created 24 clinical protocols, which we call the Red Book, that were used to treat COVID. And we shared this with the rest of the healthcare community. So it was not doing it for ourselves, but really doing it for society. And by doing so, making a difference. Today, we are India's largest healthcare system, and we're large because it's not because we just believe in scale, but we believe in meaningful scale. We currently have 70 hospitals, 200 clinics, 2,000 diagnostic centers, 5,500 pharmacies, and 25 million people as of last week using 24/7 are digital. But we would not have come this far if not for the fact that while there was my father who had the vision, there was my mother who with her elegant kindness kept us all together. But because 4 of us as sisters were able to work together, it was not linear growth. In fact, it was a multiplication. Preeta converted a very risky investment into an outstanding service for cancer patients, which we call the Apollo Cancer Center, Proton Cancer Center. Shobhana is the architect of India's largest omni-channel pharmacy chain. Sangeeta is always at the heart of innovation with AI and preventive healthcare. Of course, continuously guided by our wonderful board, which continue to give us guidance and a wealth of information and support. But we have around us a very strong ecosystem. And these are members of the Apollo family, professionals who serve like family. They don't come to work. They come because they feel they're serving a cause. And it is a commitment of these people, our doctors, our nurses, our management back office, that were able to succeed and were able to grow. So I'm deeply grateful to all of them for making Apollo what it is today. And if you think of what Apollo is today, and you think of, and this is very probably Harvard Business School at work, you think of companies like Kodak, and it was such a wonderful product. But instead of curating that experience, the family experience around it, Kodak lost track. It was there for a short while. It became a verb, Kodak, Kodak moment. The same thing happened with Xerox. It became a monopoly and forgot to innovate. And that's why I believe that innovation, but above all, innovation with purpose, is something that is key for all of us. And purpose has to become a way of life as you think about sustainability. So long before ESG, and at Apollo, purpose was already a way of life. And purpose, if you think about it, it means doing something meaningful for yourself, but more importantly, consequential for the rest of the world. And this is what builds lasting organizations. And this is what brings organizations together to do something good for the rest of society. And like I said, it's not ESG. It's about doing something good which is sustainable. At Apollo, building, we looked at hospitals and we grew. We built 4 verticals: the hospitals, the clinics, which is primary care, the pharmacies, and then we brought it all together with 24/7, our digital app, because we believed that we needed to take care closer to the consumer. We even went further with home care, and we will continue to do so. In fact, the way that we think about the evolution of a business model or of the evolution of care is combined. We think about, having treated 40 years in the business, we've treated probably 2 generations of people. But our belief is, our purpose is to keep the 3rd generation out of the hospital. Therefore, our focus on preventive health care. As we think about the future, I must say a little bit about my own personal journey, because for me, satisfaction stems from the fact that I've done something meaningful in my life, and strongly believe that living this life, working with colleagues, with family, is something that inspires me to come to work every day. But it was not so. When my father came back from the United States in 1969, all of us felt very sad. We were used to a life of pizzas and burgers and wonderful television shows. Coming back to India was quite a challenge because it was a different way of learning. Today, for a long time, I was Executive Director of Finance. At that time, when I came back, I remember being 15 years old and getting a 0 in math. I had to learn how to do math backwards, so I'd buy the answer books and learn it backward. My first day of work, our CFO said, "Oh, you're here because you're the boss's daughter." And then I thought again and I said, okay, this is when I said going to Stella Maris and getting a degree is not enough. So I went to IFMR, which is now XIM University, and got a diploma in finance, a diploma in treasury management and capital restructuring. So, nothing is impossible. Yes, I studied economics and I studied philosophy. But I needed to go that one step further to validate that I could lead the organization through knowledge. And that, I believe, is critical for all of you. You have this opportunity to gain great knowledge. When I wanted to go to the United States for an MBA, my father said, no, Indian girls don't really need to go to the United States for an MBA. I brought you all back to understand India. So we never got a chance to do an MBA. But I was fortunate, after Schroders, Rajiv, I got to go to the program at Harvard. And that really enhanced my journey. I think the second aspect of my journey that I think is a learning for everyone is the fact that our chairman had so much trust in all of us. When I was 19, he brought us all to the table and said, okay, we're creating this institution called Apollo Hospital. At that time, he had the foresight to call it Apollo Hospitals because he felt India needed just many more than one hospital. But when we looked at a name, all the professionals came with Sushrut. And then he looked at me and he said, what do you think? And I said, no, I don't think Sushrut is appropriate. He said, why? I said, can you imagine a patient who's got a stroke and has to say, take me to Sushrut? Let's find a simpler name. And I chose Apollo because it was a Greek god of science. And also because I said when we get listed, we would be the first healthcare company starting with an A. And today I think, I've lived up to that belief that he had in me, because in terms of market capitalization, in terms of revenue, and more importantly, in terms of the number of patients we've treated, Apollo continues to remain number one. So the lesson for all of us is to put trust in our professionals, because, trust can move mountains, and it is always done and will always do so. So I come to work every day and I'm inspired to do so much more, because I believe that I'm surrounded by people who together can collectively do something of great importance. And I come to work with happiness, which there is a course in Harvard in an MBA called Management and Happiness. So for all of you who are looking to find out the true meaning of happiness, if you haven't discovered it from the childlike happiness of Dalai Lama, who said your life's journey should be full of happiness, for all of those who haven't, I think you should read Arthur Brooks, because it is a wonderful learning. Arthur Brooks starts by saying that our brains, our lymphatic system. So as children, if you give a child an ice cream, he's happy. If you give him something that he wants, he's happy. So this brain simply works with the lymphatic system, sending out signals to the cognition center, the front lobal part of the brain, that makes you happy. But as you grow older, you have to recognize that there's so much stress in life. And if you're not anxious about work, if you're not anxious about studying or your next exam, you're not normal. Anxiety is a way of life. I think learning to cope with anxiety is a lesson that you need to learn. And the way to cope with anxiety is really to do so with knowledge. So humans have this incredible power of metacognition when they can analyze, when they know that they can deal with anxiety with knowledge. And more than that, what gives you lasting happiness is actually sharing that knowledge with other people. And this is what we were meant to do as human beings. We look at this world around us and we think, where have we lost this ability to be able to talk to each other, to trust each other, to be able to deliver happiness like I know this institute is doing. While you deliver knowledge, there's so much good work being done by the institution, and I think that is the key to life. Find purpose, find happiness, because without it, we are just ordinary human beings. The time to do so, to prosper, is really in front of us right now. India has never been at a better period in India's history. And why do I say so? Because as you look around world, there is political instability. There is, they say, looming recession, and there is war. But look at India. We have political stability. We have very good consumer demographics. We have capital being invested in new businesses. We have capital investments coming from the rest of the world. And we have a very capable labor force, a potential labor force, potential customers. What more can you ask for from a market like this? It is truly a wonderful time to be an Indian and to be working in India. So I ask you all to take advantage of this opportunity, because if you compare India with the rest of the world, 50 years ago, Asia, let me focus on Asia. Asia would contribute 14% of GDP of the world's GDP. But if you look at India, and India currently close to $4 trillion has been growing at 7%, which is truly very high. And Asia now contributes 33% of the world's GDP. So truly the right place to be. And how do we keep at it? How do we keep growing? I think there are two things that are important. One is a lesson from the United States. America's GDP is 80% higher than Europe. And the reason for that is the innovation that is happening in those companies. If we can only imbibe that innovation gene and make it a way of life, I think we should, we're talking about number 3, but I think we will definitely be number 3 in the next 2 to 3 years, I hope. In this, by 2025, 2026, we should be, and we're heading in the right direction. But I want you all to be part of that, good time. And I say this for another reason, and I'm bringing it together with happiness, because as you look at, a more developed world, what do people want? Maybe I'll talk about my children right now. They start with wanting, I want a car, I want a house, I want I want painting, I want good paintings, I want to have exclusive holidays. So this is one of the lessons I learned from Arthur Brooks. And that lesson is that if you look at happiness with the denominator and the numerator, the denominator is all the things you want, and the numerator is all the experiences you need to have to make you happy. So the more you increase the denominator, the equation looks bad. So please, this is a learning, bringing Buddha and Brooks together. Reduce your denominator, and you will find happiness much more easier than if you want a whole, a tremendous lot of things. And that also leads to unnecessary consumption, which is, not the Indian way of life. So while India's time has come and our time has come, it is time for all of you to step into this new world. And I hope that you do so with courage. I think it was Invictus who said that you are the captain of your soul, you are the leader of your mind. So bringing it together, you are, you create your own destiny. And I'm sure that with the teachings that you've learned, that you've had, the courses that you've done, the experience that you've had, you will all turn out to be the most wonderful leaders. And as we go forth, as we step into this new world, I would like to probably quote from Michael Jackson, because I believe there is a rhythm in life. If you look at the way the sun rises and the sun sets, the moon rises, the moon sets, the way plants grow to be trees, and the way, if you look at biology, a simple wound can be healed even without a doctor coming to have to stitch or cut. There is a rhythm in life. So understand, let's work with that rhythm, because it's a very beautiful rhythm. So I'll take you to a rhythm from which I borrow from Michael Jackson, and I hope that together we can build a healthy, happy world. So, ladies and gentlemen, members of, uh, of this wonderful college, students of this wonderful college. It was truly a privilege to be here with you. I wish you joy, I wish you happiness, I wish you courage, and I hope together we can make the world a better place. God bless you all, and thank you.
Nita, that was brilliant. Would you like to come and sit here and take the questions from here? All right, I'll hand over the mic to you. Please do, in our normal tradition, ask our chief guest, Sunita, questions, right? And before you speak, just give your name and the year and which subject you're in. Do raise your hands so that we can identify who's going to ask the first question. If not, may I, on your behalf, raise the first question to get the ball rolling. Sunita, you referred in your address about your father very often because he is, a world standard, if I may say so, in health and healthcare and health delivery systems. He's done a huge amount of innovation. He's influenced you and your three sisters. I would like to ask you, what would your vision be when you are not quite his age, but maybe 10 or 15 years younger than he is today? What would your vision be for Apollo?
I'm wondering whether I should inform SEBI, the board, before I tell you, Rajiv, because that is what's happening in the world today. But having said that, I think very soon we'll announce something with IIT, and I hope that what we've done in healthcare, making it 1/10 of international costs, that we could create, bring medtech to India at 1/10 of international cost. And that is really my next agenda. I think that's why innovation is important.
Please now. What's happened? I think you... I see a hand going up there. Can you take the mic there, please?
Good evening, everyone. I am Vigneshwar from the XIM MBA BM batch of 23-25. Ma'am, was it always in your mind to join Apollo in the management, or initially did you have any other plans, if you had any other goals in your life, if you could share with us?
I was 19 when I chose the name Apollo. I was 29 when, I raised the first FDI. So clearly I was on track to make sure that Apollo was a success.
Where's the next hand? There? Yeah.
Good evening, ma'am. I'm Deep Bhatto of MBA BM batch of 23-25. So my question to you is, you talked about medical costs in India being, private sector medical costs in India being 1/10 of international cost. This is extremely, which is a great thing for us. However, private sector medical education costs have been increasing exponentially throughout the years. And this has led to specifically disadvantaged sections of the society not being able to pursue medical education outside of government colleges. And it has started a vicious cycle of this translating to lesser and lesser number of doctors wanting to go to healthcare centers, primary healthcare centers, whether it be in the rural section of the country or the urban section of the country. So in that respect, what would the government or the private sector in medical healthcare could do to incentivize the ball rolling at a faster pace, to bring in more democratization of medical education in India? What could Apollo do? What do you have? Anything you could share about this? Any thoughts about this, ma'am? Thank you.
Thank you. That was a really good question. So the government is already very proactive, recognizing the huge shortage of doctors in India, and I think also understanding the cost of creating a doctor. So what they have done is enable the privatization, healthcare education to be privatized, and you would have seen that the number. I heard medical colleges in Orissa itself, 11 new colleges have started. So definitely there is almost a doubling of capacity that is happening every 5 years. And at Apollo, we believe that medical education was core because it supplied us with doctors and nurses. But however, education is not for profit. And you do have to pay, teachers and infrastructure, and you have to put heavy capex for education. So we moved it to a trust, and we do have 2 undergrad medical colleges and 18 colleges of nursing. So, I agree with you, there is a shortage, it comes at a cost, but the cost comes from both the capital investment in land, building, which you need to get approval. And the second is, of course, you need to pay your professors, you need to look after your students, because they're there, they're working there 24 hours, they're on campus. So it does come at a cost. And now that it is democratized now with what the government has done in terms of, seats allocated for people who cannot pay, some for the private who can pay. So it is accessible and will be more so because there are more colleges coming up.
Good evening, ma'am. I'm Muskan Chandak from XIM MBA BM batch of 23-25. Ma'am, I have a little personal question. You beautifully emphasized about the vision, how the Apollo was born. It was your father's vision. But then to carry out the consistency and the legacy throughout, to make it such at a huge scale, it requires a perseverance and patience along with a huge dedication. So looking at your inspiring journey, I really want to ask, please, if you can give us 3 advices so that that makes you at this point of your life.
I'm glad you asked that question. I left it out of my speech because I thought it was getting too long. But you're often asked about work-life balance. Don't think about it. There is work and life go together. It is, life is so deeply connected with work. But what you do have to do is to make time for family, and you have to make time to have a very healthy ecosystem around you, which is friends to support you and gives you moments of laughter and joy. You must have hobbies because you have to make time for that. Our brains are hard, are beautiful things. We have the right brain, which is logic, and the left, which is creative. So to create complete happiness, you have to have an outlet for creativity. You have to have time for friends, time for laughter, and time for family. So carve out those timings and keep them separate. But for where work is concerned, work and life, they somewhat go together, because that's when work gives you happiness. And you don't really need to seek too much of it outside.
Good evening, ma'am. I'm Akshaya Giridharan from the XIM BBM batch of 23-25. So you have been in the unique position of having worked with your family. So there must have been some differences of opinion. So if you could provide any interesting stories or, learnings that you've had from any of those situations.
Could you repeat that? Sorry, did you say from?
Yes, ma'am. So you've been in the unique position of having worked with your family. So have you had any differences of opinions, and if so, how did you deal with those situations?
Yes, I've had differences of opinion. And sometimes my father says, so I sent a note to Sebi last week, and he said, what authority do you have to send that note? So I had to say, Dad, I'm the managing director. It is my responsibility to send it. But having handled finance and risk, it's a very important function. But it taught me a very good lesson. My father is a risk taker, and I've learned how to become one. But I've learned how to become one because I study the data, I know the trends, I know the market. So I know how to take risks, and I take calculated risks. But Dad, he takes a risk and he takes it for the sake of the patient. And this was a special learning for me. He wanted to invest in a machine that cost over 500 crores, 1,200 crores to really build that facility, and this is for cancer care. And I said, we can't afford it because no one in Asia has done it. How do we know that it will really work? But today, proton is a gold standard for radiation. So it has taught me a very meaningful lesson that if you do something for society, if you do it with purpose, there's always a payoff.
I think one last question since you got your hand up, but that's the last one because Sunita ji's got a flight to catch after that. So please give him the mic. Sorry, give her the mic, or is it him? Him the mic.
Good evening, ma'am. I am Siddharth Das from XIM BM Batch 2325. Ma'am, as Apollo, you have they have changed the medical facility in each and every aspect. But in terms of rural people, for rural people and rural location, what steps has Apollo taken or is going to take in order to decrease the gap between the medical facilities and the rural location?
Oh, sorry. Can you please?
Can you say that slowly, please?
Ma'am, the thing is that as Apollo has done immense progress in each and every aspect. But in terms of rural people, for rural people, what steps are you going to take or have you taken recently in order to decrease the medical problems that they are facing?
Yes. So we are the only corporate that actually is present in both Tier 2, Tier 3, from places like Kakinada to Karakodi. You will find that Apollo came first because we really care for, it was our mission statement that we would provide accessible health care at 1/10 of the cost. So these care in these hospitals are really much, much lower. We work with state governments and work with their scheme patients, and even in Bhubaneswar we're doing so. To those who we cannot reach and who even the government cannot reach, we work with governments and do telemedicine. So we've done it in the most remotest locations where the government itself doesn't have a PHC. We have helped set up PHCs. And I think during COVID, we were able to do 4 million vaccinations across. So clearly, we work with governments, we're able to reach the poor. And now we've done a project in Aragonda, which is this very small town, where we look after education, vaccination, and job creation. So it's looking after the entire community. The project is called Total Health. It is a case study by Harvard Public School of Health, where we're able to manage, both life and livelihoods from cradle to grave.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your valuable insights and encouraging thoughts. Your words of wisdom have indeed made us reflect, contemplate, and focus on our goals and aspirations in life. We would also like to thank our Chairman Emeritus, Sri Rajiv Kaul, for moderating the Q&A session.
Now, may I request our Registrar, Father S. Anthony Raj, to conduct the proceedings for the Long Service Medal Ceremony. Sir, please.
Long service medals are given to the following individuals who have given 15 years of service to the Institute as on 31st October 2023. Professor Sridhar Das. Professor Pradyumna Kumar Mohanty. Professor Asit Ranjan Mohanty. Professor Subhashis Rai. With these four faculty, we have two non-teaching staff, Mr. Soumyajit Das. Mr. Narayan Nath. Thank you, dignitaries. As we come to the end of our Foundation Day lecture, it is my privilege and honor to propose the vote of thanks. Honorable Chief Guest and the Speaker of the evening, Dr. Sunita Reddy, Managing Director, Apollo Hospitals Enterprise Limited, Reverend Father Jerome Kutina, Chairman of the Board of Governors, Sri Rajiv Kaul, Chairman Emeritus, Board of Governors, respected members of the Board of Governors, esteemed Vice Chancellor, Reverend Dr. Father Anthony Aruvari, respected deans, faculty colleagues, my dear staff, my dear students, invited guests, friends from the media. First, we begin by thanking God as Almighty, for bringing us all at this point of time in our personal journey to this place. Thank you, Dr. Sunita Reddy, Managing Director, Apollo Hospitals Enterprise Limited, for giving us an opportunity to celebrate this event. You have truly been a poet and a farmer, a transformational leader, to bring Apollo to be the first in corporate healthcare. We thank you for your words of inspiration. Thank you for accepting the doctorate honoris causa from XIM University. We thank our chairman for leading through his inspiration and guidance. Shri Rajiv Kaul has been a pillar of strength, guiding us all these years, and he continues to do so. We are grateful to you, Shri Rajiv Kaul. Thank you, Father Anthony Aruvari, for your inspiring leadership. We thank our Chief Finance Officer, Father Arikedas, for providing the necessary resources in time. Thank you, respected Dean Vishwaswarup Misra, for proclaiming the citation for all of us. We thank the entire administrative team, especially the administrative officer, Basant Kumar Mahanti, Lingaraj Patnaik, and the entire team for getting the venue ready, the IT team, the non-teaching staff, the program officers of the XIMB School of Business Management, the choir for their mellifluous rendition, setting the tone, and our friends from the media, print and electronic, for covering the event, Team Illuminatics for bringing our friends from the media, our alums who are present here in this auditorium and watching online, the assistants and student volunteers from the School of Communications for AV production, and anchors Vanshika and Saswat for doing your job so well. In the words of our speaker of the evening, continue to be healthy, continue to be happy. God bless us all.
Thank you, Father, for those supporting and generous words. May I now request the gathering to rise for the national anthem.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंगा तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तब जय गाथा जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे